So this is Orson Welles' last movie, and it was never finished. And it's about a great filmmaker's last movie that was never finished. And if that's not meta enough for you, there's also a documentary about the making of this movie. So there's a documentary about the making of an unfinished film that's about the making of an unfinished film. But that's not this movie. This is just a movie about the making of an unfinished film, which also happened to end up being unfinished. So I assume everything's crystal clear so far, right? Nothing complicated going on here. Okay, so let's just take a step back. Orson Welles made Citizen Kane, which is widely considered one of, if not the greatest movie ever made. Now, I've seen it and didn't like it at all. I can appreciate that the guy knew how to compose a shot really well. He's obviously a talented filmmaker, but I just didn't find the movie all that interesting or entertaining. And I'm also not exactly a huge fan of releasing posthumous works by artists. You know, releasing books, albums, movies that were never finished while the artist was alive, which means they were finished by someone else. And you never know what the artist actually wanted to do with it. So when I heard Netflix was releasing Orson Welles' last movie, a movie he never got to finish, but they decided to stitch together from existing footage, I was highly skeptical at best. First of all, I didn't really have an interest in the movie itself. Second, I didn't expect them to do a very good job. Third, maybe the movie wasn't finished for a reason. Maybe it sucked. I mean, the guy spent more than a decade making it, and there was over 100 hours of footage. So you'd think he'd be able to finish it if he really wanted to. Needless to say, my expectations were low. Extremely low. Well, no one's as surprised as I am to say that. I thought it was kinda brilliant, actually. Now, it's not flawless, and I felt that the pacing in the second half could have used a lot of work. But overall, I thought it was pretty great. And yeah, apparently I was completely wrong about this one. Now, this movie is sort of two movies in one. You have the sort of documentary film portion, which is most of the movie, and it's about the making of this movie within the movie. And then there's the actual movie within the movie, the one they're working on. I'm not explaining it well. You know, it's a movie shot in documentary style, long before Spinal Tap or The Office, or all these other movies and TV shows made it popular. In fact, according to the people who worked on the film, actual documentaries, as we know them today, didn't really even exist back then, back in the early 70s. So he was kind of pioneering a genre of film, while also pioneering the spoof of that same genre. I mean, we call them mockumentaries these days. And that's essentially what this is. A mockumentary about the making of a film. And it's basically a satire about the whole film industry. A critique of modern cinema at the time. And a sort of comment on Orson's place in that space. And the weird thing is, almost 50 years after he started shooting this, it still works. And had it come out back then, I'm not even sure people would have been able to appreciate it. Maybe they would have. But I mean, even the people working on the movie had no idea what the hell he was doing. No one except Orson knew what he was even going for. It was all in his head. But now you can look at the footage and it kinda makes sense. Because we've had stuff like it before. So what's so great about this movie? Well, pretty much everything except the pacing. Just the way it's shot. With different cameras in really weird angles, made to look like it's really stitched together from different sources. And the whole story is great. It's basically autobiographical about Welles himself. And yeah, he denied that, but it's pretty much undeniable. And the way it was edited is pure genius. It has this unbelievable energy to it. Especially in the first half. It kinda loses a bit of momentum toward the end though. But John Huston's performance was just fantastic. But the writing was maybe even better. I'm not even kidding when I say this is some of the sharpest writing and dialogue I've seen in recent years. It's so funny and witty and also pretty damn profound sometimes. Like on the surface, it almost looks like random nonsensical rambling. It doesn't seem focused or like it's about anything in particular. But if you pay attention, it's actually about everything, like anything and everything. Filmmaking, the industry, philosophy, just life in general. and it's all seamless. That might be the most astonishing part. This movie was shot over years and years, in different locations and different countries, and John Huston wasn't even cast before 3 years into making it. And somehow it all just works. And the movie within the movie was just such a stark contrast to the documentary portion. The documentary portion was almost non-stop dialogue, shot with handheld cameras and this boxy aspect ratio. And the movie they were making was completely wordless, shot with locked down cameras and in this wide image. And it was beautiful looking and vivid and strange, also starring Orson Welles' actual mistress. And I think they said one of the, let's just say, more memorable scenes was shot in like 3 different locations over the course of 2 years. And if you see that scene, you realize how ridiculous that is. This must have been a nightmare to put together, and it's really no wonder he never finished it. But the end result is worth it, I'd say. It's pretty great. But yeah, the pacing does unfortunately bring it down a notch. I really wish it didn't, but it bothered me too much to let it slide. I mean, overall, would I recommend it? Yeah, this thing is definitely worth checking out. And after seeing it, go watch the documentary on the making of it. It's called They'll Love Me When I'm Gone. So go watch it. Or don't. I'm not your